My wife had cancer. I asked my children for help, but they refused, saying it was your problem. When the doctor told me that my wife had stage 4 cancer, I felt the world collapse beneath me. I could barely stand. The woman I'd loved for more than 30 years, the mother of my children, was dying, and I was powerless to stop it. I thought my kids, our kids, would rally around us, that they'd help me through it, that we'd face this nightmare as a family. But when I called them and told them what was happening, all I heard on the other end of the line were cold voices, impatient sighs, and the words that would haunt me forever. That's your problem. Dad, tell me, if your own children turned their backs on you when you needed them most, what would you do? Would you beg them to care, or would you let them walk away? My name's Richard. I'm 62 years old, and for most of my life, I believed I was a good father. My wife, Helen, and I got married young. I was 28. She was 25, and together we raised 3 children, Mark, our eldest, Emily, and our youngest, Jason. Life wasn't perfect, but it was ours. I worked long hours as an electrician while Helen managed the home and took care of the kids. She was the glue that held everything together, patient, loving, always putting everyone before herself. I still remember the way she'd stay up late sewing costumes for school plays, baking for bake sales, or listening to the kids vent about their teenage problems. She gave them everything, and I thought they loved her for it. As the years went by, the kids grew up and went their separate ways. Mark became a software engineer and moved to another city with his wife. Emily got married too, and she was always too busy with her husband and her 2 little ones. Jason, the youngest, never really settled down. He was always chasing one career or another, moving from job to job, city to city. We didn't see them much, but Helen always called them, sent them money when they needed it, and made sure they knew they could come home anytime. She loved them unconditionally. Everything changed 2 years ago. Helen started feeling tired all the time. At first, we thought it was just age or stress. But then she started losing weight, her appetite vanished, and one night she collapsed while making dinner. I rushed her to the hospital, and after a series of tests, the doctor sat us down with that grim, heavy look that doctors get when they're about to deliver bad news. "It's cancer," he said softly, "stage 4 pancreatic cancer." I can't describe the sound that came out of my wife when she heard that. It wasn't a cry, it was like her soul breaking in half. From that day forward, our lives became a blur of hospital visits, chemotherapy sessions, and sleepless nights. I retired early just to take care of her. I cooked for her, bathed her, cleaned up after her, managed her medication, everything. And I did it willingly because she was my wife, my partner, the person who had spent her whole life taking care of everyone else. But I couldn't do it alone. It was too much physically, financially, emotionally. So I did what any father would do. I reached out to my children for help. Mark was the first one I called. "Son," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "your mom's not doing well. It's cancer. I could use some help." There was a pause, then he sighed. "Dad, I'm really sorry, but I can't just drop everything. Work's crazy right now, and flying back would cost a lot. Can't you hire someone?" I told him we couldn't afford full-time care, that the bills were piling up. He went quiet again before finally saying, "Look, I'll send a little money when I can, but you'll have to handle this. It's your problem." I felt my chest tighten, but I tried to stay calm. "Your mother needs you, Mark. I know, Dad, but I have a family too. You'll figure it out." Then he hung up. I called Emily next. She was kinder, at least at first. She cried when I told her, said she'd visit soon. But soon turned into next month, and next month turned into silence. When I finally confronted her, she said, "Dad, I can't bring the kids into that kind of environment. It's too depressing. Besides, I'm not good with, sick people. You were always the strong one. You can handle it." Jason was my last hope. He was always the free spirit, the one who'd crash on our couch when he was broke, the one Helen always defended no matter how many times he messed up. When I told him, he actually laughed, a nervous, uncomfortable laugh. "Oh, man, that's rough," he said, "but I'm kind of between jobs right now. I don't have the money or the time to help out. You're there, you know what to do." And then, as if it were nothing, he added, "She's your wife, Dad, not mine." I can't even explain the pain of hearing that. It was like someone had taken a knife and slowly twisted it in my heart. I hung up and just sat there in the dark for a long time. Helen was asleep in the other room, her body frail, her hair gone from the chemo, and all I could think was, how could our children, her children, be so heartless? Weeks turned into months, and things only got worse. Helen's condition deteriorated. I sold my car to pay for her treatments and cancelled almost everything that wasn't essential. I barely ate or slept. Sometimes she'd wake up crying, apologizing for being a burden. I'd hold her hand and whisper, "You're not a burden, you're my life." But deep down I was breaking. I'd stare at the family photos on the wall, all those happy moments, and wonder where it all went wrong. One night Helen asked me, "Did I do something wrong, Richard? Why don't they come?" I wanted to lie, to tell her they were busy, that they loved her but just couldn't make it. But she wasn't stupid. She could see the disappointment on my face every time I came home from the mailbox empty, handed or checked my phone, and saw nothing but silence. So that's the situation I was in. I told myself, pacing the kitchen one night, my wife was dying and our children didn't care. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and think, what would you do in my place? Would you forgive your kids? Would you keep calling, keep begging for help? Or would you finally let them see what they'd done? As Helen's health declined, I realized she didn't have much time left. The doctors said maybe a few weeks. So I made a decision, one last attempt to bring our children home. I called them each again, but this time I didn't ask for help. I told them their mother wanted to see them one last time. Mark said he'd try. Emily said she'd think about it. Jason didn't even answer. I texted him, "Your mom is dying." He read it but didn't reply. Helen passed away 3 weeks later. I was holding her hand when it happened. Her last words were a whisper, "Tell the kids I love them, no matter what." I buried her in the small cemetery near our old church. None of our children came, not one. I sent them the details, the time, the place, but all I got were excuses. "The flight's too expensive. The kids have school. I just can't handle funerals." After the funeral, I came home to an empty house. Everything smelled like her perfume, her shampoo, her cooking. I sat in her chair and cried until I couldn't breathe. Then something inside me snapped. I realized that I had spent my entire life sacrificing for children who couldn't even show up to say goodbye to their mother. And I decided in that moment that I was done. Over the next few months, I settled Helen's affairs. We had some savings, the house, a few investments. I changed my will. Every penny that would have gone to the kids, I redirected it. I donated half to a cancer foundation in Helen's name. The rest, I set aside for a scholarship for young caregivers, people who take care of their loved ones when no one else will. When my lawyer asked, "Are you sure you want to do this?" I said, "Yes, they abandoned her. They don't deserve a dime." It wasn't about revenge. It was about justice, about honoring the woman who gave everything and got nothing in return. A year passed before any of them reached out. Mark called first, acting like nothing had happened. "Hey, Dad, how have you been?" he asked casually. I didn't even let him finish. "Your mother's been gone for a year, Mark. You didn't even come to her funeral." There was a long silence before he mumbled something about being busy. Emily called next, crying, saying she regretted not visiting. Jason showed up unannounced one afternoon, looking uncomfortable, standing in the doorway like a stranger. "I didn't know it was that bad," he said quietly. "I was scared." I looked at him for a long time and said, You should have been scared of losing her, not facing her. When I finally told them about the will, they were furious. Mark accused me of manipulation. Emily said I was punishing them. Jason called me selfish. I just laughed bitterly and said, "Selfish? You let your mother die alone. That's selfish." They haven't spoken to me since, and honestly, I don't care. I live alone now, surrounded by Helen's things, her photos, her memories. Some days I still talk to her, tell her about the birds in the garden or the neighbor's new dog. I imagine her smiling, telling me I did the right thing, and deep down I know I did. If you've ever loved someone enough to give them everything, only to be abandoned by those you raised to love, then you know my pain. I didn't want to end my life this way, alone, grieving, disappointed. But I have peace knowing Helen's name will help others. Her kindness will live on, even if our children's love didn't. So tell me, was I wrong for cutting my kids out of the will? Should I have forgiven them instead, or did they deserve what they got? Like this video if you were on my side. Subscribe for more real stories like this, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll see you all in the next story.